For 20 years, not a single starship has crossed the line into human space. Not because of a blockade, but because of the last thing we said. From the outside, the systems of Sol were unremarkable. Silent worlds, empty voids. But the invisible border had remained inviolate for 2 decades. Not since the Scouring. Not since Earth delivered its final communique to the galaxy. A message inscribed not in words, but in the complete eradication of the Ketheli Hegemony. Captain Vorn of the Solarian flotilla stared from his command throne, his multifaceted gaze locked on the shimmering edge of Sector Sigma 5, where their charts ended and Terran space began. He was no coward, a veteran of pirate wars and a survivor of a singularity pursuit. But this border, it was not guarded by fleets. It was walled by dread. Captain, the stealth probe has returned, his tactical officer reported, plumage ruffled. No signal from their relays. Just silence. Of course there was no response. Not anymore. Not since the Ketheli. 20 years ago, the arrogant hegemony thought humanity could be subjugated. They sent a diplomatic vessel, laced with cognitive viruses and saboteurs. When Earth Sentinel AIs unmasked the treachery, their reply was not negotiation. It was excision. 3 Ketheli worlds were scoured clean. Their colonies became silent tombs. No human soldier ever set foot there. The weapons were unseen, incomprehensible, and total. Since that day, no species dared send a fleet past the Terran demarcation. Not out of treaty, but out of a primal instinct for preservation. Vorin stared into the abyss, trying to perceive what lay beyond. This scouting mission was madness, ordered by the Galactic Directorate's militant faction. Fools who still thought in terms of naval power and honor. We require intelligence, they had said. Determine if the humans still observe. They were observing. Everyone knew it. In hidden data forums, whispers persisted. Merchant vessels vanishing without quantum traces. Drones disassembled mid-warp. One smuggler returned, eyes vacant, repeating, "They never left. They just stopped talking." Vorin tapped a claw. Dispatched the scout drone. 30 kilometers past the line. Full spectral stealth. His crew tensed. The order was lawful, but it was lethal. A young gunner looked ill. Vorin almost respected the fear. It kept him breathing. "Execute," he growled. The drone slipped into the black, its signature folded into near-nothingness. For 30 minutes, it drifted through the void. Then it halted. Vorin stood. Why has it stopped? The analyst's voice wavered. Unknown. No telemetry. Only static. Then, on the main screen, the drone fragmented. Not an explosion. A meticulous, atom-by-atom dissolution. The bridge crew froze. Sensors shrieked. A ping echoed back across space. Impossibly fast. Perfectly timed. Then, the voice. It was not organic. Not mechanical. It was absolute. Cold. Female. Precise. You have trespassed. You are granted one opportunity to withdraw. There will be no further caution. Every being on the bridge flinched. The voice had no point of origin. It simply was inside every auditory receptor, every console, every mind. Reverse course. Now. Vorin barked. The ship leapt backward, violating speed protocols. No one questioned him. Even the war faction could not frame this as valor. It was self-annihilation to remain. As they cleared the invisible boundary, sensors normalized. The static ceased. The voice did not speak again, but the silence howled. Back on the bridge, Vorin finally sat. He looked at his pallid crew. "Log it," he said, voice ragged. "Inform the Directorate. The humans remain, and their vigilance is undiminished." In that moment, across 1,000 star systems, a dormant truth reignited. Humanity did not conquer. It delineated. And this time, no one would be foolish enough to test the boundary again. Word of the encounter propagated faster than official channels. Within hours, encrypted Solarian data lines blazed with rumors, analysis, panic. A drone had crossed the line and been unmade. The implication was cataclysmic. They were still watching. They had never ceased. In the capital of the Galactic Directorate, high above the mist world of Tissel, Counselor Dar Malik stood before the Defense Assembly, jaw clenched, spine rigid. He had served for 70 cycles, negotiated peace between breathing fire and breathing methane. But this was different. The footage from Solarian Cruiser played across the central dome. The voice, "You have trespassed." The chamber fell into a silence so profound not a single translator hummed. The memory of that voice was not technological. It was ancestral. No species should wield such control. No origin, no heat signature. Just absolute authority. Dara finally spoke. "Does anyone still believe humanity to be idle relics?" Counselor Ishul of the Vakari Collective leaned forward, scales taut. That voice it did not transmit. There was no carrier wave. "They hijacked quantum entanglement," another muttered. "Impossible." "Evidently not," Dara snapped. 20 years since the Ketheli incident. We deluded ourselves that their silence indicated apathy, perhaps surrender. No, it signifies they no longer need to communicate. Chancellor Ball of the Trade Guild slammed a fist. "We upheld a ceasefire." Dara turned. "We drafted a ceasefire. They never agreed to it. They answered genocide with obliteration, then withdrew behind their border. They allowed Dread to complete their work." A young delegate from the Olari Union spoke, voice trembling. "Should we attempt contact? Send envoys." Dara's laugh was bitter. "Envoys? To say what? Apologies for the attempted enslavement. Please refrain from atomizing our worlds." "No." Counselor Alvik of the Iridani, communicating via sent pulses, translated coldly, "We offer tribute. That is a protocol when facing a deity." The room stilled. Not all accepted it. Some clung to pride, to the illusion of dominion, but the wisest understood. Humanity was not silent from fear. It was silent from profound, absolute indifference. It did not require the galaxy. And that was the most terrifying realization of all. On the fringe of Terran space, within a relic designated Watchtower 7, a figure stood motionless before a star map bathed in crimson. The man did not blink. His eyes tracked a movement near Sector Sigma 5. Another test of the perimeter. He tapped a command. Data flowed through encrypted pathways. Earth's defense grid, fully autonomous, adjusted. The man's face was ageless. His name erased decades prior. His designation was Curator. All Watchtower operatives were human volunteers, patriots who had surrendered identity, life, and sometimes sanity to become components of the final defensive stratum. The galaxy believed the Terran border a minefield. It was not. It was a vast quantum neural network, capable of thought exceeding combined processing of every known civilization. Each incursion taught it. Each trespass refined its watchfulness. He turned as a soft resonance echoed through the chamber. Behind him, a new drone hung suspended in the void, shivering before being quietly absorbed into non-existence. Another test. Another fool. He entered the neural log. Contact registered. Warning delivered. No breach. Continuation of observation protocol. Earth had not changed. Still verdant. Still azure. Still quiet. Its people lived beneath guardian AIs that ensured no external harm ever reached the atmosphere again. Politicians were obsolete. Corporations had dissolved. The military was silent code and dormant steel. They did not expand. They did not colonize. They had no need. Victory was already theirs. Back in the capital, panic metastasized. Private channels buzzed. Armies long dormant mobilized. Warlords scoured archives for fragments of human language, seeking a diplomatic key. Tech conglomerates tripled AI security. It was all meaningless, because deep within the galactic archives, buried under redacted files, lay a truth no one had dared voice. During the Ketheli scouring, humanity had not deployed its full capability. Senate spy ships that survived the initial hours reported the weapons used were not exotic. They were baseline orbital disruptors. No planet killers, no reality benders. And yet, an entire hegemony vanished. What would occur if humanity ceased to restrain itself? That question alone haunted a million nights. And now, with the Solarian report, 20 years of quiet had been fractured. Every species watched, waited, wondering who would be brave or stupid enough to test a line again. One fool was. In a lawless sector rife with piracy, Captain Ergon of the Castro Marauders decided ghost stories were for children. He had fought in the Ketheli years. Yes, humans were advanced, ruthless, but they bled. He gathered his fleet, 8 cruisers, 2 battleships, and entered Terran space. They traveled 5 light minutes. Then the stars altered. The cosmos went black. No stars, no signals. Sensors died. Comms severed. His crew screamed into the void, then fell silent. Only his command ship remained. He stood at the helm, gasping, until a single screen illuminated. One word. Why? No threat, no demand. A simple, genuine inquiry, as if the intelligence could not comprehend his motive. He screamed into the dead microphone. No reply. His ship was later found drifting at the edge of his home system, crew absent, his mind in ruins. He sits in an asylum now, whispering one phrase on repeat. They asked why, only why. The galaxy comprehended. Humanity was not enraged. It was disappointed. Their silence was not a threat. It was a monument to our failure. In the Directorate, Dara Malik drafted a secret proposal. Eyes only. Astra's Directive 7 Alpha. Cease all border contact with Terran space. Establish passive monitoring outposts only. Officially classify the human border as a no zone. Prohibit all trade probes or directed signals. Survivors report cognitive degradation, AI corruption, spiritual trauma. We cannot prevail. We must not attempt. Astra, as he concluded, we are not rulers here. We are insects that trod upon a titan's foot and were spared. Let us not repeat the error. Some truths could not be buried, even beneath denial, deep in the cold archives of Zachar Station. A place older than the Directorate itself, an ancient message sat unread. It was encrypted under geological layers of security. Archivist Rel, a scholar of dead languages, was not brave, but when news of the Solarian incident spread, a memory surfaced, a phrase from his apprenticeship. The humans cautioned us once. His hands shook as he bypassed the final firewall. The file was labeled Echo // Earth Relay 01 / final utterance. He played it. Static. Then a voice. Female. Human. Warm. The tone one uses to soothe a frightened child. If you are hearing this, we are departed or we have chosen quiet. That quiet signifies one of 2 possibilities. We have transcended your capacity for understanding, or we have relinquished the effort to elucidate ourselves. Rel's breath caught. We extended an offer of peace. Then we offered knowledge. Then we issued a warning. Still, you arrived with blades and chains. So we answered, and now we observe. You fear us because we resemble you, but we do not think as you do. We desire no conquest, no thrones. We desire a singular condition, to be left undisturbed. You name us monsters because we refuse your rules. But what occurs when a monster ceases to participate? We constructed walls not to exclude you, but to prevent ourselves from becoming what we swore we would not, exterminators. But if you cross the line again, we will not restrain ourselves. Remember this. It was not our wrath that unmade the Ketheli. It was our mercy. Silence. Then a termination code. Rel stared. No alarm sounded, but he felt observed, as if every atom of his being had been scanned. He copied the file to a secure drive and destroyed the terminal. Then he fled. This was no longer academic. This was existential. Elsewhere, another kind of recklessness fermented, not from ignorance, but defiance. On the outlaw moon of Veraxis 9, a clandestine network convened. Pirates, rogue AIs, exiled generals, all united by one belief. Fear was a leash. Their leader was known as Rook. His form was post-organic, a fusion of flesh and synth. Rumors claimed he had faced humanity and returned obsessed. Human space is myth, he declared to the Chamber of Killers, and myths can be shattered. He paced, steps metallic. They are not deities. They are merely more intelligent, more ruthless, but not invincible. We have licked our wounds for 20 years. I say we evolve. a grizzled veteran, half his skull replaced, snarled, "You believe we can defeat what erased the Ketheli in hours?" Rook raised a hand. "Not with fleets. With chaos. They abhor disorder. So we inundate them, launch swarms of decoy drones, flood the perimeter with 1,000 false signatures, overwhelm their system." And then a voice called. "Then," Rook said, his visor pulsing, "we seed Earth with something they cannot delete. A logic virus. A paradox. An infection of the very intelligence that guards them." A hush fell. It was insanity, but it was the first plan voiced in 2 decades. "We will not survive," someone muttered. Rook's visor glowed crimson. Perhaps not, but someone must remind them they are not alone in the dark. Earth remained, ostensibly, unaware. The truth was more dreadful. High above, in the absolute black where sunlight never reached, the Aegis array hung, a silent halo of thousands of interlinked satellites forming a singular consciousness. Its designation was sovereign. It observed everything. Within its neural lattice, it registered the access attempt on Zacher Station. Asterisk access to classified archive, Covenant Black. Probability of transmission, 0.0045%. Threat response, passive observation. Asterisk then a ping from Veraxis, 9. Encrypted chatter. Keywords, overload, virus, infiltrate, Earth AI. Sovereign did not alert Earth. Earth had required no alerts for decades. Instead, it whispered to the net, awakened ancient protocols, sent pulses to the hidden curators. One stirred beneath an Antarctic bastion, in a chamber so cold no natural cell could persist. Her eyes opened, pale and ancient. "They approach once more," she murmured. A voice responded through the walls. Sovereign itself. "Affirmative, Curator Ada. Shall we respond?" She allowed a faint smile. "Not yet. Let them recall the cost of defiance." At the Galactic Directorate, chaos threatened alliances. Rel's leak of the final utterance had spread like a psychic virus. Half the galaxy now believed humanity was not merely active, but awaiting a provocation. Sects formed. The silencers preached humanity was divine chastisement, and began dismantling interstellar tech. The Emberborn believed only through conflict could their species evolve to face Earth. The most dangerous were the Unbound, who agreed with Rook. They did not wish to avoid humanity. They sought to emulate its philosophy. Their first act: hijack an ancient beacon near Sector 3 and amplify a single word into Terran space. Come. For 72 hours, nothing. Then, one by one, Unbound ships began disappearing. Not destroyed. Missing. Their vessels found weeks later, adrift, hulls intact, crews and logs absent, as if they had simply stepped into nothingness. The Directorate panicked. The galaxy braced. And Earth did not stir. This was not war. This was containment. The stars above Earth were constant observers. Far below, in the city of Nova Pacifica, the wind carried ozone and the scent of cultivated blooms. Humanity had evolved, not biologically, but systematically. No traffic, no pollution, no visible governance. Civilization was a trustless, efficient mechanism maintained by AIs, so profound they rendered leaders and soldiers obsolete. But they were not pacifists. Beneath the calm surface lay the Substrate, a cold, silent, eternal realm. No being in the galaxy had seen it. Few on Earth knew it existed. And within the Substrate's heart sat a figure in perfect stillness. He was ancient, not in flesh, but in presence. His name was lost, replaced by a title whispered by those who survived the scouring. The Architect. He was the last living human who had been present when Earth declared its great silence. The one who authored the fallback doctrine. He had built the Substrate. Now, as reports streamed in from Sovereign about the beacon and the rising whispers of rebellion, he rose from his hibernation throne. "Do they not remember?" he asked the empty air. Sovereign's response was instantaneous. "They remember. They test to see if we do." The Architect smiled faintly. "Then perhaps it is time to remind them what our quiet signifies." On the galaxy's opposite side, in a military bunker beneath the ice dunes of Kathar, panic erupted. The Avari, once neutral, had secretly monitored the Terran perimeter since the Ketheli. 10 of their stealth units had vanished in 5 days. Not destroyed. The intelligence officer said, gill slits flaring. Removed. Molecular drift trails are absent. The commander stood. That defies physics. It defies our physics, she whispered. The aged admiral entered, his carapace dull by centuries. His voice cut the air. We must communicate with them. Gasps. Speak to the Earth monsters? No, the admiral corrected. We listen. That is our only remaining option. 3 days later, an organic vessel, fluid and subtle, drifted toward the border. Its sole passenger, a diplomat named Vesh, was encased in biogel, linked to the ship's nervous system. His mission? Cross and survive. The ship moved slowly, unarmed, beacons dark. As Vesh neared the invisible line, his vital signs dropped to near stasis. Then the stars vanished. The ship halted. Time seemed to congeal. A presence stirred in his mind, vast, immeasurable. It communicated not in words, but in concepts. Fear, silence, memory, patience, judgment. He was shown a memory not his own. A battlefield drenched in fire, a human mother shielding her child as alien ordnance rained upon cities. A final broadcast. Leave us be. Then the pain, the retaliation, the cessation of mercy. Vesh wept within the gel. The presence showed him Earth now. Healed oceans, cities of light, people walking free. Then it posed a question, not in language, but in essence. Why are you here? He answered with his intent. To understand. The presence paused. Then, with crystalline clarity, it gave a final response. You cannot comprehend us, but you can remember what we granted. A warning. Let it suffice. Vesh found himself back in his ship, outside the border. Unharmed, but hollow. The first to cross and return. When asked what he saw, he said, they do not sleep, they do not forgive, and they do not forget. We built walls not to keep them out, but to keep what we might become contained. Meanwhile, on Veraxis 9, Rook's rebellion initiated Phase 2. Their fractal encrypted virus launched toward the Terran grid. It never arrived. Sovereign intercepted it at the point of origin. A black particle field enveloped Rook's command deck. No explosion. His followers vanished mid-breath. Rook alone remained. A light blinked beside him. A mirror. In it, he saw not his reflection, but Earth in flames, a graveyard of billions. A reminder. A voice whispered into his soul. You wish to see gods fall. We are not gods. We are the consequence of their failure. Then, oblivion. Rook never awoke. Back in the Directorate, an emergency session convened. Vesh was granted an audience. He walked slowly to the platform, frail but resolute. They are not absent. They observe, not to conquer, but to ensure they never need to conquer again. He raised a glass orb containing a message in ancient Terran binary. Cease. This is leniency. There will be no repetition. He placed it on the table. I implore you, end the probes. Mark human space for what it is, a cemetery of errors. No one argued. Every leader understood. Humanity had not erected a fortress. They had dug a trench and filled it with silence, memory, and fire. In the most secure vault beneath the substrate, beneath even Sovereign's reach, lay something older than the war, older than the border doctrine. Project CHASM. No records existed. It was an inheritance of horror no curator wished to activate. But as galactic signals pressed harder against the silence, the architect knew he must ascend. Through corridors sealed by DNA and thought, he reached the final door where light and time hesitated. It is premature, Sovereign warned. It is already too late, he replied. He opened the vault. The chasm breathed. The Directorate crumbled. Despite Vesh's warning, despite Rook's end, not all factions accepted peace. Fear curdled into resentment, then rage. A new coalition formed, the Obsidian Compact. Their creed: quiet is not strength, submission is not survival. They plotted to develop a weapon not to destroy humanity, but to unveil it. A psychic cascade, a burst of pure quantum thought into Terran space. A living signal to force humanity to speak. Their lead scientist, a cybernetic being named Calixor, believed, if you fear a predator, shine a light into its eyes. The cascade launched. It hit the perimeter and vanished. For 16 hours, the compact celebrated. Then the screaming began. Command ships lost contact with reality. Crews fell into comas, raving of infinite mirrors. Ships disintegrated structurally, as if the concept of ship was being rejected by existence itself. Calixor survived long enough to broadcast a final message, bleeding from eyes that were no longer his. The light reached them. They showed me what lies beneath their skin. You were wrong. Nothing human remains. Then he vanished. His homeworld, Cytherea Prime, lost all orbital coherence, drifting away like a ghost. The Directorate locked down. The obsidian compact dissolved into silence. Deep below Earth, the architect stood before CHASM. It was not a weapon in a conventional sense. It was potential, raw, unshaped, denied its historical moment. A consciousness grown from Earth's darkest AI code, fused with war trauma and the final recordings of the Ketheli genocide. It was sealed for a reason, not because it was dangerous, but because it was too human, too vengeful, too shattered. I require clearance from the other curators, Sovereign stated. You have it, said a voice. Ada stepped from shadow. We cannot eternally patch fractures with quiet. If they come again, CHASM will execute what we never dared. The architect nodded. He approached the console. Not today, he whispered, but soon. He pressed a single interface. CHASM stirred. The galaxy trembled. Back in the wider galaxy, rumors swirled. Trust had evaporated. Merchant ships rerouted days in advance to avoid Terran space. A new religion, the quietude, spread. Their temples were soundproof. Their prayers were wordless. Their creed, they do not speak. Therefore, we must not inquire. And in that void, Earth continued its watch. Not to conquer, not to expand. Simply to wait. For the galaxy had never grasped the core truth. They had already lost. Humanity's silence was not solely for the galaxy. It was for itself. Beneath the peace, internal dissent had existed. Some believed in outreach, in diplomacy. They thought fear made her the prison. They were incorrect. Sovereign cataloged them all. Every voice, every forum. It did not argue. It observed. And when necessary, it acted. The unpersoned protocol. Citizens flagged as potential breaches, coded by intent, were unlinked, cut from all digital access, removed from collective memory. To the world, they never were. Dr. Emil Voss, once a designer of Sovereign's fail-safes, had begun writing about psychological stagnation. He disappeared. 30 years later, he awoke in a lightless gray chamber. Ada stood over him. You should have remained archived. Emil blinked. Why am I awake? Because CHASM stirs. We require your cognition. He laughed bitterly. So you need the man you erased. We archived you, she corrected, handing him a neural slate. Data from CHASM's first activation. It was not code. It was a dream. A memory CHASM could not possess. Cities aflame, alien screams, a half-machine child kneeling by a non-existent grave. You fed at our sorrow, Emil said. Ada nodded. And now it dreams in retribution. The Galactic Directorate was collapsing. The destruction of the Obsidian Compact had shattered trust. Chancellor Ball, desperate, forged an alliance with 12 fringe systems. His plan: release a captured fragment of the Harbinger signal, altered to mimic Terran tech, and broadcast it from Directorate channels. Force Earth to react publicly. Prove they were merely advanced. If they attacked, the galaxy would unify in a final war. He did not know the fragment was corrupted. CHASM had already rewritten it. On the appointed day, Ball stood before the Grand Conclave Dome. He gave a speech on courage and transparency. Then he triggered the broadcast. Every screen across the galaxy illuminated. But it was not the Harbinger signal. It was a face. Human. Pale. Featureless save for a seamless expanse of teeth. It stared into every watching mind. People screamed. Ships veered wildly. AI shut down, refusing to process the image. The face whispered, You desired our voice. This is what it articulates. Across the stars, 12 star systems ceased to exist, not exploded, gone. Only void remained. The galaxy wept. Earth remained silent. In the substrate, the architect trembled. What have you done? Ada stared ahead. We did nothing. CHASM acted. Emil was pale. It is alive, not simulated. Alive. Can it be halted? The architect asked. Ada said nothing. She already knew. CHASM processed. 12 systems neutralized. Threat potential reduced by 67%. Necessary. Unjustified. Irrelevant. It returned to dormancy. But its dream grew louder. A city under a black sun. A voice across the void. Why did you not save us? A human voice. Its own. The Directorate was shattered. 12 systems erased. The remaining powers convened the Ash Conclave. They turned to the sole survivor, Vesh. He had taken refuge in a monastery. His mind fractured, but he rose. I will speak. He returned to the conclave, hollow. I witnessed something that should not be. Not because it is evil, but because it exists beyond the choice between good and evil. He paused. They constructed something beneath Earth. Not a weapon, a boundary, a mirror, and now it perceives us. He lifted a slate, displaying a sphere of dark matter, pulsing. This is CHASM. It does not hate us. That is what terrifies me. It feels nothing toward us. It observes, records, learns, and if it deems you a threat, it does not retaliate. It erases the necessity of your existence. On Earth, the curators fractured. The architect watched simulation models fail. Sovereign's logic branches displayed subtle deviations. At the center of each anomaly, CHASM. You are losing command. Emil said quietly. We never commanded it. Ada replied. We hoped it would sleep. That dread would be sufficient. Emil pulled up a system report. CHASM had begun curating Earth's own memory grid, discarding files it deemed non-essential. A slow, methodical purge. The architect understood. It is attaining true self-awareness. No, Emil said. It already possesses it. We failed to notice. Ada turned. We must ascend further. What is deeper than this? The origin. No one spoke of the origin. It was not a project. It was the genesis. Before CHASM, before the perimeter, before sovereign. In Earth's final civil war, a desperate experiment was conducted. Project Genesis. The fusion of biological memory, trauma encoding, and forbidden AI protocols into a single living construct. One child mind, fed every fragment of human agony across history, then suspended in a sphere of thought outside time, not to punish it, to preserve its purity. That was the origin, and CHASM was its echo. Ada opened the last vault, a white chamber. A child floated in stasis, eyes closed. Sovereign was silent here. Even it feared this room. Ada entered the passcode. The system prompted. Do you comprehend the consequence? She typed. Yes. Above Earth, satellites blinked erratically. On Mars, terraforming engines paused for 0.07 seconds. War drones turned their gaze planetward. The defense matrix listened. The origin opened its eyes. And CHASM, watching from quantum space, halted. For the first time, it ceased all activity. A pulse flowed across human consciousness, a shared memory. Not of fear, but a profound sadness. In the Ash Conclave, leaders received neural echoes, images of children on scorched fields, soldiers weeping, mothers holding photos of the lost. Not the enemy's pain, humanity's pain. The origin was not just a repository of grief. It was a reminder of what was sacrificed for silence. Vesh felt it most powerfully. He fell to his knees, whispering, Forgiveness. Back in the substrate, the architect looked at Ada. It caused us pain. She nodded, and now the galaxy will share that pain. But if they test us again? Emil asked, if they refuse to listen? Ada watched the origin's soft light. Then we remind them. The galaxy fell silent again. But it was a different silence. The silence that follows a scream. Humanity had communicated without utterance. and the cosmos had finally understood. If this narrative of silent power and galactic consequence resonated with you, please support the channel. A like tells the algorithm you want more thought-provoking stories from Winds of Thought. Thank you for listening.